on.
In a dark and misty house.
Yeah, I can hear. Do you think Beto's is a good pizza place? Crash McCracken says he hates it. Some people, I've had it. I don't hate it, but I'm like, okay, I get it. You're doing something a little different. It's cool, but it's not my yeah, some people absolutely love it, man. My ex-girlfriend Tina, she was the one who said, oh, we gotta get Beto's. Okay. Like, like my hot cheese, my hot pussy. Hot cheese and hot pussy. Okay, here we go. All right, guys, we are getting set up here to do the thing that we do, that thing we do, and I was just kind of playing a little music, and Lily and I were kind of chit-chatting and chit-chatting. Is that what we call it? And getting shit somewhat set up here. Let me get my playlist together because we do have some really good bands for you guys tonight. It's not all brand new, but we have some good uns. We have some good uns for you. Some good uns. And you're going to like it. And you're going to like it. Just call me Lou Pappin. I know. We were just talking about Beto's, and Crash McCracken says Beto's sucks. Beto's.
I can't get down with the cold cheese.
Yeah, they put cold cheese on top of the whole thing when it's all done. If you like that thing, I guess you like. It's like okay. Like I was like my girlfriend at the time, Tina was like, "Oh my God, you have to try. We have to go get it. It's so good." And I'm like, it's okay.
I'm into Osos out of Washington.
Ah, that's good.
That's my stuff.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
That's good. That's good. Like late night, shit faced. Yeah. I need something to eat.
A whole tray. Order the whole tray. Take it home. It's even good cold.
So yeah, eat it next day or whatever, So anyways, guys, so we're all set up here to do the thing, and I think we're gonna just jump in. In case you are just checking it out, haven't been following, today's topic is going to be the best rock and metal episodes of VH1's Behind the Music. So we're going to be getting into that here in a second. So you feel like you're about ready to go, Lily? Check your. Can everybody hear Lily?
Can everyone hear me?
Can everybody hear Lily?
Let me know, please, if you can.
Okay.
Or you can't.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the record button here, and we're just going to jump right into it. Here we go. Today on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus, we are talking about the absolute best rock and metal episodes of VH1's Behind the Music. So some of you who are a little bit younger, maybe you don't remember that, but it was a great documentary series that was on VH1, specifically after MTV kind of had abandoned music. VH1 picked up the mantle, started talking about music, and they had this great docu-series called Behind the Music. Stick around. You're listening to the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus, changing rock history one podcast at a time. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. This is our hard rock and metal show. We're doing it live on Facebook on Rock Rage Radio Live. If you guys would like to know more about that, then you better be following me and following Lily V6 here on social media, or you're going to completely miss out on it. So, anyways, guys, today's topic is the best of the best rock and metal episodes of VH1's Behind the Music. So we're going to be talking about that in a quick second. First of all, our website is LoudiniRockandRollCircus.com. So check back often for more great shows like this. You can catch up on past episodes. It gets replayed all over the place. So, but we're running at about a week behind. So those of you who are checking us live here and listen to us on Rock Rage Radio and Classic 92.3, you get the latest and greatest. The rest of you have to wait about a week to come back and check it out again. Our Patreon. Please help us out. Throw us a little bone there on Patreon. That is $5 a month, even $1. But $5, there's different levels there. Plus, we get a lot of cool perks. There's all kind of cool stuff. And you go to patreon.com/Lou Lombardi. That is patreon.com/Lou Lombardi. We will be mentioning that throughout tonight's show. Lily V6 is in the house. What's going on, Lily?
Oh, and ding dong.
And we have Keith. I did not know we were having Keith. Lily, go ahead, talk for me, because I don't have Keith. I don't have Keith queued up because I didn't know he was coming on.
So, doing great. This past weekend, I went to see Queensryche at Batavia Downs in New York, which was awesome. Couldn't really see over tall people's heads because I'm 5'4", but that's cool. No big deal. So my video sucks, but they sounded great. And then I went to go see the movie yesterday, which I highly recommend everyone to see. Didn't think I was going to like it, but it was awesome. And it's not predictable for those of you who think it is, because I couldn't guess anything that happened other than what I saw in the trailer. And this week, I actually don't have any shows that I'm going to.
What? That's
Strangely enough.
crazy.
I know, nothing. I'm going to a family reunion on Saturday.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
Where's that going to be?
Carmichael's, PA.
Oh, Carmichael's.
Yes.
All right. So
Good stuff.
if you're going to be in Carmichael's, PA, and you would like to stalk Lily V6,
Strange family.
in the strange family that is the Sixers over there, you can check out Lily on that. If you follow her on Facebook, she posts everything, so you probably know exactly where it is.
You will find it.
So all you freaking creeps out there, that Billy Altman, that I'm kidding. Billy's a good dude. I love you, Billy. Billy's a super fan. We love Billy. That's a joke. But no, seriously. So you can check out Lily. She's all over the place. And your show is what time? When is it?
Thursdays.
But you're not doing it this week.
I am not doing the show this week. There will be fill-in music due to the holiday. So happy 4th, everyone. You don't get to listen to me talk on Thursday.
Aw, but we want to let them do
Oh,
it.
but on the next week's Thursday show, I'm giving away 2 tickets to
Paradise.
the Glenn Sobel and the Goon Squad show.
Oh, they messaged me and said, "Are you coming to our show?" And I said, "No fucking way! You're a bunch of fucking pricks. Go fuck yourselves."
Wow.
And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'm coming."
And
Because the show last time was unfucking
and then
believable.
you are now not fun anymore.
Yeah, that was just kidding. They know I was. He knows. I did not say that to him. I'm
was
choking.
Paul, right?
I'm just choking. I'm just choking.
But I am giving away 2 tickets on the show next week, so listen in.
Okay, we like listening in. We like watching. And so you're with Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. This is your weekly conjugal visit. So welcome, everybody, and special welcome to our brother,
I need to be turned up, they said.
the Hawkmeister.
Yeah, who's definitely don't need to be turned up, because I'm going to shout. I'm going to let it all out.
Please do.
Yeah, obviously Tears for Fears, but just me and them. That's all.
That's it. That's all we got.
It's all tears for fears all the time.
I really want to watch that. I really want to see that movie yesterday, so you said it's good then?
Oh, I loved it. I cried like a baby.
Really?
Yep.
Damn.
Like tears streaming down the face cry.
I don't
Sorry, you
know.
wanna-
For Lily V6, is that good or bad? I don't know.
It was good. It was super good. I loved it.
super.
Super.
With super good. Super.
Yeah, I'm going to have to see that shit.
So, Keith, what's going on in your world?
You know, man, just living the dream down here in NOLA. Dealing with it. It's just hot, man. It's hot.
I'll bet.
It just knocks the shit out of you.
It's hot here, so I know it's gonna be hot there.
Yeah, I mean, it's and we're only in the freaking, well, we're in July now, but I'll tell you what, I've still got 3 months of this torture. Weeks of just, then it'll rain for like a couple days here. Like today it rained. It's kind of rainy now. Supposed to rain most of this week. But then there'll be them like spells though where you have 2 weeks of 90-degree weather and the heat index is like freaking 105.
Yeah. It's been, today, I think yesterday too. Well, yesterday wasn't as bad.
It was.
Yeah, yesterday
muggy.
was a little better, but today was very hot and humid. And then over the weekend it was hot and humid. We had like all kind of like crazy
Well,
stuff.
I wasn't here, but it was hot and humid where I was too.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with a song, and then we're going to come back. We're going to get into today's topic. This is a band called All Little Lies, and the track is Apathia on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.
I think there is no end when you wait for something. I think there is no peace in the deepest silence. With no reference, I am thinking I live again. This apathy is killing me, but I don't die. I destroy myself in the purest apathy, wasting the existence in the void. I destroy myself
Remind me to do that right when I come back.
in the
Song.
purest
Do the Wolf's
apathy,
Custom.
wasting the existence in the void. This apathy is killing me, but I don't die. Stars rise faster around me, creating a zipping noise that now is invisible to my own eyes. I emerge from the same unconsciousness. I destroy myself in the purest apathy, wasting the existence in the void. I destroy myself in the purest apathy, wasting the existence in the void. This apathy is killing me, but I don't die. I destroy myself in the purest apathy, wasting the existence in the void. I destroy myself in the purest apathy, wasting the existence in the void. This apathy is killing me, but I don't die.
All Little Lies, everybody. Apathia. That is the latest single from All Little Lies. Let me give you a place where you can check out All Little Lies. You can go to facebook.com/ All Little Lies. So check them out. Ludini Rock and Roll Circus, you're listening to. Patreon.com / Lou Lombardi. Throw us a freaking bone, and we'll throw you some bones back. Right, Lily?
I like bones.
Okay. We got some gifts this week in the mail. I want to give a shout out to our bro, Chris Thunderwolf Dodson with Wolf's Customs Guitar Refinishing. And you can email for more information at Wolf's Customs. And thank you for these cool guitar picks. And we've got one with it has a hole in it, so we can make like a little necklace. So check them out, Wolf's Customs. Thank you, Chris. Chris is a longtime supporter of the show, so appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being there for us. We do appreciate that. So, are we about ready to get into this topic then?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, who wants to start? Keith, you're
Okay.
the new guy. You haven't been on in a while. You want to jump in first?
Yeah, we doing 10? We doing top 10?
We're doing as many as you like.
As many till it takes us to 10 o'clock.
Till 10 o'clock, and then we're gonna go get really screwed up.
One of my personal favorite ones. And this is a great band. It started as completely different, style, and then ended up being like a rock, more pop rock juggernaut at the end there. I mean, hopefully that'll maybe come back around again and do something in the future. But Genesis was one of my favorite ones. Just seeing their start as these artsy kids going to real fine schools and just hanging out with each other and discovering like the arts and like prog rock kind of beginnings they had with Peter Gabriel, and then all of a sudden when he's ready to split, it's like they're looking for singer after singer after singer, and their singer is the freaking drummer, and he goes on to be an iconic rock band. And still, like I said, I'm holding out hope that one day they can maybe do something again. But Genesis, I think, was not just a very influential rock band, but I think that show as a whole, that was one of my favorite episodes, because it really went into some really good detail about like the band's member changes and how they really just progressed through the years, as just losing someone that who went on to have, like Peter Gabriel went on to have a great solo career and phenomenal in his own right, but just that kind of thing can screw a band up big time, and it could end up just being a disastrous move. But I think they hung through it, and not, like I said, just pound for pound, I think that's one of my favorite ones. What they did. So I'm going to start that show off with Genesis being one of my favorite ones for sure.
Okay, cool. Lily, I know she is our resident rock historian here, and she delves deep into these subjects. Maybe what we should do before balls deep. Before we go too far, do you have a background on Behind the Music or anything like that? Do you want to give like a little bio about Behind the Music, or?
You sort of started it off there, but it's a documentary television series on VH1 that started August 17th, 1997. Each episode profiles and interviews a popular musical artist or group. The program examines the beginning of their career, their road to success, and hardships that they have encountered. And a lot of times they'll have footage from shows, and family members will be interviewed, managers, Rolling Stone editors, who cares about them normally, but, things like that. Basically is what the show's about.
Okay. And VH1 also had some other shows as well, like Legends.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting is some of the artists that were on Legends also had their own Behind the Music. So I think it was just a kind of big, just any excuse to, recycle content and make
Right.
something to put on TV. Some of the artists that showed up, just going to give you a list. There's a huge
And I don't
list.
even think they named everybody on
Yeah,
this.
I mean, this is huge, but everybody from 50 Cent to Leif Garrett to Notorious B.I.G. to Hart, Faith Hill, Teddy Pendergrass. Fleetwood Mac has their own Behind the Music, but Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks each have their own separate Behind the Music documentaries. So, they really, it was wildly popular, so they kept finding anything they could do, any other kind of angle to, bring somebody out. And, Enrique Iglesias. I mean, how many freaking songs did that guy have? Not that many. I mean,
Not that many that are noted.
Yeah, exactly. So, there was just, this was just something I think was really fun. I think the success of this really was what it was the stories. People wanted to peek under the hood of the rock and roll lifestyle, and with some of the artists we're going to talk about tonight, they were not disappointed. We could just put it that way. They got all the dirt, on a lot of bands, as well as these bands all have great story arcs. The most popular ones really do have these amazing story arcs of the dramas of everyday life. So it is a kind of almost reality kind of series in a way, but like way better produced with much cooler music.
Yeah.
Of course. So that's the sort of thing. And for some of you who are young, who don't know what it is, well, that is Behind the Music. And you can do they're all over. You can watch, tons of them are on YouTube. You can just watch them. And many of the ones we're going to talk about, I'm sure you can find them there. What'd you say?
You can watch whole episodes on YouTube.
Yeah, as well. And for a long time, Netflix had them on as well. And that's where I
Really?
saw a lot of
Oh,
them
nice.
that I had missed because for scheduling or whatever, just not, like Iron Maidens I had never seen until it came on Netflix. So in any case, so that is a little bit of a background on what is Behind the Music and what kind of made it so like engaging.
They also did non-band ones too. So like they did, I watched today just for fun. The Studio 54 one, Rocky Horror Picture Show, Woodstock 1969, and Flashdance have good music all in them, but not band related.
They're not band, and I think there's a Lilith Fair.
There is.
Behind
There's
the
a
Music.
whole bunch. They did ones on separate years, even like from 1981 on. So
Okay.
yeah, they did.
No,
There's
just- yeah.
tons.
Yeah, just any sort of excuse to do like a kind of like rockumentary sort of thing there. So, Lil, what do you have? So Keith chimed in. He really liked the Genesis. I'm gonna put
That's
a
a
note
good
of
one.
that. What do you got?
So the first one I'm going to mention is Judas Priest, which was aired in September 23rd, 2001, and then redone in 2010 for updates since the band is sort of still touring. But they're an English heavy metal band from 1969, if you don't know who they are. Struggling at first with indifferent record production and lack of commercial success until the 80s, when they shot to rock superstar status with the album British Steel. So the episode starts with like the four working class Englishmen who rose from the smoke to become pioneers of the new wave of British heavy metal. Their history spans 30 years. The episode included well-publicized 1990 court case that was centered around the subliminal messages with the song Better By You, Better Than Me. So they showed a lot of the court footage, which I thought was interesting. And it touches on the 92 departure of Rob Halford, as well as in 1998 him coming out, which nobody really saw at all. So that was sort of a like, oh, he's heavy metal guy's gay. Oh my gosh.
But he didn't come out on Behind the Music, but he came
No,
out.
they showed they like talked about it.
Yeah, they talked
He
about
talked about it actually. And then it touches on the rebirth of Priest with the new singer Tim Ripper Owens, and talks about Halford's return to heavy metal with his band Halford. It included interviews with Halford, Glenn Tipton, KK Downey, Ian Hill, Scott Travis, and of course Tim Ripper Owens. Management and then family and friends also talked about them too.
And then you said they got like a reprise a few years later.
Since they're still touring, they just kind of updated it with new tour
And
footage.
Rob Halford is back in the band.
Yes,
And yes, Ripper is out. Rob is back.
In 2010, they did kind of update a lot of them.
Okay. Yeah, there was a and I'm not saying this is one of the great ones or not, but speaking of that, the one that got an updated one was Journey.
Yes.
Journey has an updated
As they should.
one as well. So, so far we've got Genesis and Judas Priest. Keith, what do you got on your list?
My next one, I think, like I said, somebody have great stories behind them. Where this band had a lot of tragedy, but went on to be very successful, still going, and I think have a sound all their own. So I'm going to go with the Red Hot Chili Peppers as my next one. Definitely, a lot of guitar players have gone through the Chili Peppers camp, if you will, but they've also had a lot of tragedy with deaths, drugs, overdoses, and things that just have been, I guess, your stereotypical rock and roll lifestyle. But I think that they continue to fly their flag as a funky alt rock. I mean, they're a little bit all over the place with their sound. So I think that's what has given them such longevity. They can reinvent themselves over and over again. I think that the bond between Anthony Kiedis and Flea is pretty much, kind of speaks for itself, and they keep that thing together regardless. And with Will Ferrell, and Chad Smith playing drums, it's just definitely one of those things where they can go on as long as they want to, man, because that's the thing that makes bands work, is the longevity, the successful, that friendship. Even though if you don't get together, you might not get along every second of the day, which nobody does, but there's that passion for making music together. And like I said, there's a band that can just keep going if they whenever, as long as they want to.
Well, yeah, they seem to have. I just saw them recently on. I don't know how recent it is, but Carpool Karaoke.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
You know, so I mean, and that isn't like that old, and they are still doing what they do. You know, they're there doing their thing.
They're one of the bands you put on, and you just know. I mean, it's Anthony Kiedis isn't a great singer. He kind of makes up his own lyrics at times, and he basically. But they have, you know who that is as soon as he opens his mouth. You know who that is as soon as you hear them come on the radio. Whether you like him or not, you still know who that is.
Was there a particular highlight from that episode, Keith, that kind of sticks out in your mind?
I think that the sad thing is like my personal opinion. John Frusciante was my favorite Chili Peppers guitar player. I think that one the behind the music they showed him like before he was out of the band, and before they got him back in the band after the Dave Navarro thing, they kind of showed him I think he was somewhere in Europe, and he was like all looking really, really, really bad, like he was on death's door, and they kind of showed some pictures of him when doing an interview, and that was kind of really eye-opening to see what drugs can do to somebody like that. But I mean, someone with that talent, but then him getting back in the band, and I think he fell off the wagon again. So I don't know what he's
Yeah. Yeah, some of these people, man, they just wrestle with those demons, and there's a lot of that. So we've got Genesis, Judas Priest, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Lily, what do you got, girl?
I'm going to take it back a little far because I really liked this episode, and I watched it again over the weekend. The Day the Music Died episode. It aired February 3rd of 1999, which was the 40th anniversary of the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper. So February 3rd, 1959 is when that happened. There were interviews with the stars that played in La Bamba, Lou Diamond Phillips, and the Buddy Holly story, Gary Busey. They had interviews with them. And
oh, cool.
yeah, that was really cool
I
to
never
watch.
saw this episode. Cool.
What I also thought was cool was the radio advertisements and flyers that they showed for the Winter Dance Party tour, which was only a 3-week tour? Yeah, it was a 3-week tour. As well as the news reports, video, and photographs of the actual tragedy itself. They show a lot of that. And there were also some home videos of each of the guys with their family. Don McLean was also interviewed in this, who wrote American Pie.
Yeah, wow, that's a cool concept for an episode. Yeah.
Well, Waylon Jennings was also interviewed because he almost was on that plane, as well as Tommy Alsop, who was almost on that plane, but they kind of switched with the two guys, so they could have been in that horrible crash. Waylon actually quoted to Buddy Holly that he hopes the plane crashes. I saw in the episode, so I'm sure he feels like shit now.
Well, Waylon's no longer with us
when he did.
anyways. Yeah.
They also have eyewitness accounts of those who lived it, like Donna, who Waylon's wrote a song about, as well as Peggy Sue, who Holly wrote a song about, and Carol Anderson, owner of the Surf, was in one of the interviews who drove them to the airport. He recounts his last moments with them. And their last show was at Clear Lake, Iowa at the Surf Ballroom.
For those of you who are young again, let me just sort of like...
They were the biggest stars.
Yeah, at the time, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper, this was being like the equivalent of Ozfest or something like that. You know what I mean?
It was a big deal.
This tour going around, and there was bad weather. They had to get on an airplane to get to the next town, and the plane crashed. Now, there's a story from the movie that's in the movie La Bamba that Richie Valens wasn't actually supposed to get on the plane.
No.
But he was sick, so they let him get on the plane because he wasn't feeling well.
And the other one was a coin toss to who get on the plane because the bus was so cold they didn't want to ride on the bus anymore.
Right. So they decided to ride on the plane.
And Richie was only 17 at that time. So that sort of sucks. And I think the Big Bopper was like 28 and Buddy Holly was like 22. So very
Buddy
young.
Holly was only 22.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
You know, that's a guy who's like major influence on rock, a big influence on guitar players. If you were to read Guitar Player magazine, like in the 70s, you would have read a lot of guitarists who cite Buddy Holly and his playing style as an influence. Today, a lot of people have kind of like have forgotten in the light of the Hendrix, Van Halen, and all the great guitar players that we've had, the Jimmy Pages or whatnot. A lot of people have forgotten what an influential musician Buddy Holly really was. Great songwriter.
That's a really good episode, though.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you should really
awesome.
check it out.
Now I want to see it. What do you got, Keith?
If I could just interject about that one for a minute, I actually never knew about that episode until today.
Oh.
I watched that entire episode today, and like what you're saying is totally accurate with that. I think for the movie they changed a couple little things around. in the movie, if you remember, you watched La Bamba a few times. Richie Valens was sick, but if you watch that behind the music, it was the Big Whopper that was sick.
It was
Oh,
big.
okay.
Okay, was
I
that
knew
it
one
was?
of them was
Okay.
yeah.
That Waylon Jennings and Tommy, I forget his last name, the guitar player
Allsup.
for. Yeah, they were supposed to be. It was supposed to be Buddy Holly's band on the.
Yeah.
On the. Waylon Jennings was actually playing bass at the time for Buddy Holly and Crickets because they lost their original guy. So, yeah, and he did say something about the plane crash, and when Buddy Holly said, "I hope your old bus freezes up," and he said,
Yeah.
"Well, I hope your plane crashes." So yeah, Waylon took that. Really, even he says that on the episode. That took him. He took that pretty hard for years, which that's
Of course.
you would think that probably would.
And-
But
and-
that's a great episode. The one thing I think they did say at the end of that, which is kind of something people don't think about, is that was in 1959 when that happened, and after those three passed away, they were the biggest pop stars at the time. There was the law. Rock and roll could have been dead right there. They even said, Don McLean said that it was the law in music until the Beatles come over in '63.
Yeah.
Said 60, 61, 62, where it was like the airwaves were polluted with the soft, with Frankie Valli.
That and folk had kind of
Yeah.
moved in too.
Rock
Peter,
and
Paul, and Mary. So,
on the Alps, man, right there before it even got rolling, because
Yeah.
those three were keeping, flying the flag for rock, and they were keeping the torch alive. But it's like, yeah, that could have been. There was a couple years after that until the Beatles hit America, where it's just like,
yeah.
could have been bad news for everybody.
Guys, this is a great discussion. I'm having a great time. We're going to take a break, though, and listen to Revolution Highway on the Ludini Hard Rock and Metal Circuit.
Skipping school, learned to play guitar. I always knew I'd be a rock star. Oh, yeah. Couldn't live with a 9 to 5. I had to play to let my soul fly. Playing every day.
Pete's on tour around the house.
Trying to make a name, paying my dues. Daddy said, son, you need to find a way. Don't wanna be a renegade. Life ain't easy, is what they always say. But mama said, son, you better kneel and pray. You're not a renegade. Riding with the devil, it don't ever pay.
Yeah, $36 back then, probably $350 today.
Got some friends loaded up the van. We're headed west into a strange land.
I don't want to start slurring.
Soon enough, we were all the rage. We tore it up on every new stage. Oh, yes, we did. Playing every day, living out the blues.
Did you see the one thing with all the most shocking revelations? Yeah,
You said, boy, you never could behave.
I'd seen all those. And it was just kind of interesting to kind of rethink about them again.
Never was your way. My preacher said, boy, you'll never make the grade. You'll always be a renegade. You ain't never gonna change your ways.
I've seen that many times. It's on YouTube. Actually, I think that I watched that behind the music on YouTube maybe 3 months ago. I really like this. I'm going to tell you something very interesting about this band. Come on, I'll say it on the air. Though. You're going to be... Woo!
Daddy said, son, you need to find a way said, son, you better kneel and pray, or you'll end up a renegade.
Mama said, son, you better kneel and pray, or never renegade.
Just don't pay. Just don't pay. Mama was right.
That is Renegade by Revolution Highway, featuring the incomparable vocals of David Feefolt. You're listening to Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. Our website's LudiniRockandRollCircus.com. Please patronize us on Patreon. If you love the music, you love these bands, you love bands like we've been playing here, like we play here all the time, like bands like Revolution Highway and all the other great bands. We're getting it out there for you guys. Show your support. Go to patreon.com/Lou Lombardi. I was talking to Lily while the song was playing, and I said I had something very interesting to share about this band. I went to Grooveyard Records website today. I'm like saying, what did they have out new? And I came across this band called Revolution Highway. And I put them on, and I was like, oh, my God, this kicks ass. And I started reading the bio and discovered that David Feefolt is the lead singer. Now, why is that significant? David Feefolt was my neighbor growing up. And he went on to be he was in a band called Valhalla, and he was in a very successful band called Firewolf.
Huh.
And he's in this band now. He was a couple years ahead of me in high school. His parents were uber religious. They had a Christian bookstore in Canonsburg. And so some of the lyrics there we talked about, his mom told me, son, you better kneel and pray and all that. I mean, I was kind of cracking up because that's exactly, how he grew up. And I believe that he even attended the Christian high school that I went to for like a few months.
A minute.
Yeah, for just a few months. But he was always kind of a wild ass. He had like real long hair. We all kind of idolized him because he was cool. He was in rock bands. He was a little bit older than us, and I think his voice still sounds freaking awesome. And let me give you guys. You can check those guys out. If you guys ever get a chance, just go to GrooveyardRecords.com. They have tons of great guitar-driven stuff, but you go to GrooveyardRecords.com/Revolution Highway, and the bio and all the stuff is there, and with what they're doing and everything. You can check them all out. So we are talking about the greatest episodes of VH1's Behind the Music, the greatest rock and metal ones. Have we talked about a metal? Well, we did talk about Judas. So Lily.
It's
Keith's turn? I'm sorry. Keith, what do you got, brother?
I'm gonna go all metal on your asses and go with Motorhead.
Nice.
Because in the first 5 minutes of the Motorhead one, I think maybe the first 2 minutes, Dave Grohl comes on and was like, Lemmy is fucking God.
Legit.
He was like, every band I was in, Nirvana, anything that, he's like, anybody I knew that was in the band was influenced by Motorhead. Because if you look at Motorhead's career, they never really changed their sound to fit anybody. They didn't give a shit. And Lemmy did his thing, man. And regardless of what you think of, like, the voice or the music, I mean, metalheads they're loyal to those kind of people. And Lemmy is Lemmy, man. And he will always be. Ozzy says it on there, too. There's only going to be one Lemmy, and after he's gone, there'll only be one Lemmy. There's no way to replace him.
You're right.
So, that's just a great behind the music, because they're looking at a band that I think probably didn't, maybe get enough. I mean, metalheads give them credit, but maybe they didn't get enough credit they deserve for like influencing so many bands that went on to be like just straight up hard rock or grunge bands, or bands that are like still a little bit of balls to them, but still wasn't like a total metal band. But that episode is really good because it does delve into how Lemmy just kind of went with the man. He was unstoppable. I mean, when he wanted to do, he did. It was like he never compromised his sound, and he went with it. I mean, what did you expect Lemmy to come out and start doing radio ballads one day? He's gonna give you that. It sounds like his voice. He gargles with freaking glass, and he's ready to go, man. I mean, it is what it is, and that's what I like about bands like that, where they have success because, like I said, people, especially metal fans, I think, or loyal to that kind of thing where they don't compromise, man. They're not going to compromise to sell more records. They'll sell the records they do, and I think there was even like, I don't know if VH1 did. Did you ever see it on the documentary just on Lemmy?
It was on net. I was just looking that up. It's called Lemmy,
Yeah.
and it was he directed by Greg Oliver, who also I believe did a documentary on Johnny Winter, and it's a very cool documentary. It was a Netflix documentary. Yep, called Lemmy.
Yeah, and like he lived in like some little shitty apartment with his son, and basically just hung out and drank Jack and Cokes all day, did his thing. And this dude, I'm sure somewhere in his life, Motorhead had to make some goddamn money. So, I mean, but dude probably just, I don't know, he wasn't like in a flashy, in a big mansion with 20, and have 30 Ferraris in the driveway. He was in this little shitty apartment with his son and kind of just was doing his thing. And, you got to respect people like that, man, that just kind of, like I said, only certain bands come to mind that don't compromise. Once you get people pulling the strings for you, you're kind of forced into a corner where you have to do things that maybe you don't want to do musically. So Motorhead wasn't one of those bands, and that's why I think that's such a. I'm glad they made one, because that could get passed over, man. Like a lot of people are just wanting them to be in Rock Hall of Fame and all this that. They may never get there. I'm glad that someone in VH1 had the balls to make that, make that kind of music.
Lemmy is just wildly influential character, like Ozzy,
Sure, yeah.
in rock. Just one of those like iconic people, and a lot of people who don't even. He's one of those guys that like you might catch Justin Bieber wearing a Motorhead T-shirt, even though he doesn't know, because Lemmy is just so freaking iconic. Like he's a thing. There's people that don't know who Elvis is, but if they see a picture of Elvis, he's like, oh, that's that thing, that's that guy, even though I don't know any of his music or whatever. And Lemmy is like in one of those. He's an icon.
He's an icon. Yeah.
He's a total icon. I mean, there may be. Is like as great as Van Halen was. Nobody, they don't have. David Lee Roth, it's not about the singing, it's just about the image, the whole package that like Lemmy was. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how well I'm communicating that. It's just like there's that picture of him with that Rickenbacker bass with his head up singing into the microphone. It's like that just is
With
like
the mole.
with the mole. It's like this. Aliens come from outer space and they say, "What is rock and roll?" You just you open up a picture of Lemmy and you said that's
There
rock,
it is.
that's rock and roll. That's just it's just iconic. It's really amazing.
With him too, it's more than the music. It is the look.
The lifestyle too. Like
Yeah,
the
Definitely the lifestyle. Oh my god.
I mean, if you watch that documentary on that Netflix documentary, I mean, he lived rock and roll. It's just like there's a great documentary about Johnny Winter, and he lived the blues. I mean, it was like these guys didn't just play that music; they lived it. And I think that's why people love Lemmy so much, is because the cred. There's very few artists that have that kind of just cred. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna touch them.
That rock and roll lifestyle can do a lot for you, because I don't know if it's in the Behind the Music or in the Lemmy documentary where they go through and they interview and they're talking about, like, regardless of what it's like, not the most attractive man in the world, but Lemmy had chicks, man. he got some chicks too.
Oh yeah, well, of course.
Look at Lemmy. People throw themselves at him.
Yeah,
Lemmy.
absolutely. So what? So we have the Motorhead. So Lily, what do you got next?
Well, we all knew we weren't getting out of this alive without me mentioning Motley Crue, so just deal with it for a minute.
Getting out of it alive. I hope we get out of it alive. I hope this isn't like my last night on Earth. I mean, it's a good night, but I don't really want to die.
There's reasons, but the air date was December 13th, 1998. I'm not explaining who Motley Crue is. If you don't know, then you're ridiculous. But they are
Machine Gun
obviously-
Kelly's in that band, right?
I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you. They joined the first wave of the glam metal scene. Of course, they boasted live metal performances with flamethrowers, roller coaster drum kits, and many pyrotechnics. Their episode is one of the most fun to watch because of all the chaos that they had, the anecdotes, the sex tape with Pam Anderson they bring up in it. But it's also very emotional and hard to watch. Vince Neil's recollection with the death of Razzle from Hanoi Rocks due to Neil's drunk driving. He barely could talk about it in that episode. He starts like, getting super emotional about it. So that's why I like it, because it's upbeat, but also this whole thing down here. So
I want to throw one that I don't think is on either one of your lists.
Go on.
Speaking of that, because I kind of like associate the two things. Is the Leif Garrett.
I didn't have that one.
Leif was like a kind of a teen idol in the 70s. A lot of people don't consider him really rock and roll, but his live show was rock and roll. It was Zeppelin and Hendrix, and that's the kind of stuff he was doing. But he killed his best friend. No, he didn't kill him. He's like not a vegetable, but he's like a paraplegic.
Yeah,
he's
okay,
like
yeah,
really jacked up. And
You know what?
because he was like a drunk driving thing, and it was very emotional. And I was never a big Leif Garrett fan, but when I saw that behind the music, that just stuck in my mind because it was so like
It's hard to watch them
it was
get
depressing.
emotional. Yeah.
It was just, but it stuck in my brain. But I don't want to put that on. That's not on my list. It just made me
jumped
think.
there.
I just want to jump in with that.
Well,
yeah.
that and the death of his daughter due to cancer, Skylar. Of course, he had to talk about that as well. And it's just sometimes very odd to watch rock stars get super emotional about things because normally they're.
Well,
all,
I
it's all
think
about
too
the
that is
party.
part of the appeal of these behind the music
'Cause they're
things.
humans.
Yeah, you see them as these are real people with problems. So they kind of become more relatable in a way. So, okay, so we got Motley Crue. So we've got Genesis, Judas Priest, Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Day the Music Died, Motorhead, Motley Crue. And what do you got, Keith?
My next one's going to be the heavy ass shit known as Pantera.
I wasn't going to talk about it. I'm glad you are.
With New Orleans' own Phil Anselmo on the mic. And I met somebody this weekend, and I played a fill-in gig who actually knows Phil Anselmo, and I've learned a lot about Phil this weekend from hearing people talk about him. But he definitely is an interesting character, but he went on to join one of the most powerful metal bands, not just of the 90s. I think they carried metal. Scott Ian said that. Scott Ian from Anthrax said that if it wasn't for Pantera in the 90s, metal could have been, just some glossy bullshit that was radio friendly, and that they were carrying like a torch, man, for real metal. I mean, Vulgar Display came in at number one on the Billboard chart, so that helps. I mean, they were blazing the trail, but that really goes through like their start as the Abbott Brothers in Texas, being more of a glam metal band almost. And the start of it, Pantera wasn't what they were, and they ended up being, and then they wanted to change their image, and Phil Anselmo came in, and the rest is history, man. Now, Phil's had some issues, don't get me wrong, but I mean, he's living that rock star lifestyle. But I think they're easily top 5 metal bands of all time, man.
Oh my God, fuck
I mean,
yeah!
they've influenced not just Dimebag's playing. Vinnie Paul's a fucking monster. Phil's, when he's right, can be great. But I think those 4 guys, man, when they got together, it's just one of those things where they changed how metal could be. I mean, the riffs for days, man. Dimebag's riffs for days. Not even his solo playing, which is awesome too, but his riffs are phenomenal. And just that really goes into a lot of detail about their start. And I think it's interesting to watch bands how they progress and they find their sound. And I think that's what Behind the Music does. It kind of focuses on a lot of different aspects of the band. And unfortunately, too, you have to go. I mean, you can't talk about Pantera without talking about the tragic end of Dimebag. But it's like, and they show videos of that. That's why I think the Behind the Music is such a great show, because they really do show a lot of things that are a little bit probably maybe that could be off limits to some people, but no, they go for it and they're giving you the real story.
I'm glad you said that, Keith, because that was something about that band, about that show that I always felt too, was like, I felt like, they were absolutely able to do things in good taste, while at the same time really, I think they really cared about the music. Like it felt like these are guys, whoever's making this show, like they care about the music, and they treat Pantera the same way they treated Billy Joel. It was like, there was no this music sucks and this is stupid or whatever. There's just a Milli Vanilli
There is.
behind the music.
I've seen it.
And they just tell the story, and they try to tell the story in a serious manner. They don't go these guys are assholes. They let it unfold and let you kind of do you like it? Do you don't like it? Let me ask you guys, I'm going to go around the room and I'll ask you real quick. Have you ever seen a Behind the Music where you weren't too keen on the artist, but then you watch the Behind the Music and you end up kind of not necessarily even becoming a fan, but just going like, wow, no, I really dig them now, or I have a lot more respect for them. Keith?
I'd have to think about that one. I told you yesterday on our little message thing that it's not rock and roll enough maybe for this show, but one of my favorite behind the musics ever was Oasis. The reason is, if you don't like Oasis music, that's fine, but if you watch the entire Oasis behind the music, they're using subtitles, and you need them for that, because those two just talk shit on each other the entire time. You watch the friggin' Liam heckling his own band at the Royal
See,
Albert Hall.
that would be on my list of greatest episodes, just because of it's so crazy.
That's why, like I said, it might not be rock and roll enough for the show, but at the same time, they made good poppy music. I mean, and totally.
They're a guitar band. I mean, they weren't, yeah. So what about you, Lily? Did you ever see it behind the music and go like, oh, I wasn't too keen on those guys, but now I kind of get where they're coming from, no?
I mean, there's not really one that... there is one like that I started listening to the band after that. It's In Excess, but it wasn't about In Excess. It was by Michael Hutchence, because it talks about.
Is that on your list?
It's on my list, lower down. But it's like he was one of the. He had this horrible, tragic life where he it just was awful. Like, he slept with Bob Geldof's wife and had a baby, and he couldn't obviously he's dead now. He killed himself, but. There's just this whole thing, and I kind of had a little more respect for him after that, because I'm just thinking they're just another pop band,
Do you want to talk about that since we're talking about it?
Yeah, we're on. So the air date was January 9th, 2000. The episode kind of highlights how he was an international rock star. He was from Australia in the 80s, and though his celebrity never faded, his impact on the music charts did. In the 90s, he sort of turned into a target for the tabloids, because he was literally sleeping with every model, every actress.
Yeah, he was a very handsome gentleman.
He was.
He was.
They kind of cared more about who he was dating over his music, and he had many illicit affairs, as I said. But he ended up sleeping with.
And he was a singer for the band In Excess. So,
yes.
Okay, so it wasn't clear, but go ahead.
He slept with Bob Geldof's wife, Paula Yates. They had a daughter. And Bob Geldof made sure he never saw this little girl ever, and that put him into this huge depression. Eventually, killing himself over it in a hotel room with a snakeskin belt, and it just kind of he just hated the fact that he couldn't see her. And the interviews include his father, his brother, his mom, his sister, friends. U2 frontman Bono was on the episode. Interviewing because he was on one of his songs, and a couple of Rolling Stone editors and stuff. But it was just very, very sad to watch, because watching In Excess, the band was on there as well talking about it. It was just very sad to see how he ended his life over something like that, because Bob Geldof was being a dick.
I saw. Did you ever see NXS live?
No, I've never.
Did you ever
seen
see
it live.
NXS live, Keith?
No, but I wanted to. No, I don't know.
They were.
They're
They're not rock. They're not metal for sure. They're rock.
They're pop.
But they were one of the.
Shit, that band. Other than AC/DC, they're probably one of the better bands come out of
Well,
Australia ever.
they were huge AC/DC fans, by the way. They were just huge AC/DC fans.
But they're rock solid, man.
Yeah. And I saw them live. I saw them at the Syria Mosque, and we're running low on time, so I'm not gonna tell the whole story. But just Michael Hutchence was one of the absolute most amazing frontmen ever, and it just it's just a shame the kind of what ended up happening, because he was just he was Bono meets Jim Morrison.
Jim Morrison, for
he
sure.
really had that, those two. He was freaking great. People loved him. He was you did not want to take your eyes off of him when he was on stage. He was just he ran that show like a circus master. You know what I mean? You were in the palm of his hand the whole time you were there. But anyways, we're gonna play another band, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna do a couple more. We're gonna wrap up. This is a band called Heart Attack. I try to do some metal. Each time, because I feel so this is our metal track, Heart Attack on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. No, not that song. That's Sammy Hagar. So no, we don't want any of that. And so apparently I have screwed up and did not put Heart Attack on the playlist. I made a boo-boo. So Keith, why don't you talk about something, and I will figure this out. Keith.
My next one will be one of my easily top 3 bands of all time that I freaking just love. to death. And I actually had the honor of seeing them once on our reunion tour. Probably never get to see them again. But just the talent of these three and the just how bad things got between musicians in this band. The Police was one of the most entertaining behind the music I've seen too, and not just because it's one of my favorite bands. I would watch it regardless if it was 4 hours long. I would still I'd watch it. I would but to condense that long, not long enough history in that band, but just shows the volatile at times relationship between, especially Stuart Copeland and Sting. Andy Summers, has a lot of perspective on things with the band. I mean, for a while there, in that short amount of time, they were probably one of the best pop bands ever, and still are to me. A band that just fused different kind of sounds, and unfortunately, it's one of those bands that just probably quit at their height of their success, and they could have went on, and who knows what they could have did, So it's but it's a fun, entertaining behind the music, because you can still see the egos in all those guys, especially Stewart and Sting. Those two, as great as they are, they definitely have large egos, and they kind of come through in the behind the music, So,
yeah, they were they clashed for sure.
Oh, for sure. And when they made another documentary, I have it on DVD somewhere, when they did the reunion tour back in the day, they rehearsed at Sting's little, well, I wouldn't say little, but like his countryside home that was probably worth fucking millions of dollars. But they're playing in this little tiny studio, and you can see that in one part of a song, Stuart Copeland's going for a certain thing, and Sting's looking at him like, why did you do that there? They just can't never seem to compliment each other. It's like, why did that's just not? And then Stuart was like, and then they would just go back and forth. That was those guys though. And as a three-piece band, they're made great music, not long enough of a career, but the behind the music shows that though. They show the interviews, and almost like the one where they're they throw water in each other's face and they attack each other on a festival circuit. It's great to watch those kind of those interactions between band members, because every band, no matter if you're playing at the low level or you're top of the heap, man, it has issues. But it shows. That's what I mean. Again, behind the music's digging that shit up, and they're getting them old archival videos, and they're showing you the real thing, because it's not all gold records and limousines, man. It's there's some dirty shit going on.
Okay. And Lily, let's give one more, Lil.
I'm going to do Quiet Riot.
Come on, feel the noise.
The air date was July 18th, 1999. And the reason that this is such a great episode is because at the time of filming, Kevin DuBrow was still alive. So he's got tons of interviews.
Okay,
which
cool.
Is super cool to watch.
That's cool.
Basically, they were like Motley Crue, though, before Crue happened. They were doing the same shit Motley Crue did as far as debauchery and everything. They were the first metal band to release a #1 U.S. album, which was Mental Health. It still talks about the rise and fall of the band. The first year they were amazing. The very next year they were like nobodies, because Kevin DuBrow has an attitude problem, or had an attitude problem.
Not him.
He basically compared himself to the Beatles. Unfortunately, he died from an overdose. But they also talk about the plane crash and death of Randy Rhoads, because he was the original guitarist.
That's right.
In the band, and one of the co-founders of the band. Also touches on the life of Frankie Banali, who's a very sweet man. I did get to meet him once. He worked his ass off and sacrificed for his family, because his dad was super sick from cancer, and his mom also died of cancer. So he had a lot of tragedy. And his mom was one of the ones who pushed him to go to California to be a rock star. DuBrow's attitude was a lot of the episode. Even listening to him talk in it, though, it's like, wow, you're an asshole. So, I hate to say that now that he's dead, but he really was, and I can see why no one could stand him, especially Sarzo couldn't stand him. And that was very evident in some of the other interviews that they did. He just was like, I hate this guy. Like, he just was
I hate this guy.
You could see on his face what a dick he thought he was. But, yeah, so Quiet Riot I thought was a great episode.
I wish Kevin DuBrow was alive, because him and Quiet Riot and Joan Jett could tour together, and the tour would be called "I've Made Millions of Dollars Off of Covered Tunes."
That's true, but they did it better than Slade.
On that happy note, this is When the Light Dies Down by Heart Attack on the Loudini Hard Rock and Metal Circuit. Oh, we need to talk to the man. We have any people? Oh, look at that. Okay. I want free stuff. Large. Gotta get some money. This shit ain't free. Flint Skinnerton. There's one original guy in the band. Somebody told me today that Guns N' Roses is going to cover Wichita 90 in the web. When Campbell hit. He was like, you gotta hear it. I'm like, I'm gonna check it out. You get one more. And you get one more. Again. Yeah, I was supposed to play the song 10 minutes ago. I don't know what he's doing. He might be texting. I have no problem with that. Some of my best friends, no, you shouldn't. That is a band called Heart Attack from their release, The Resilience. And let me give you guys the lowdown on Heart Attack. You can go to Facebook, another band that needs to get a freaking website. Facebook.com/Heart Attack. Guys, if you love bands like Heart Attack, Revolution Highway, All Little Lies, please, throw us a bone here. Check out our Patreon. There's a lot of cool shit there that you can get, as well as just helping us out. You go to patreon.com/Lou Lombardi. We are wrapping up today's show because we've got people waiting
In our
in our private group to party with us. So we kind of need to, sorry guys, partying, this is rock and roll. Partying is paramount, correct?
Duh.
Your conjugal visit, your weekly conjugal visit from us is just about over. So if you haven't come already, you're running out of time. Keith, give us one more behind the music that you thought was like really freaking awesome and you loved.
Well, this one could be 10 minutes long and it'd be fucking awesome. It's Queen. One of the great iconic rock bands of all time, the greatest frontman of all time. And it shows their, kind of, it could be considered a slow start, but I mean, and then they got off and running and they were ruling the world, man. That still, and to this day, they capture that Live Aid performance they did was the best live I've ever seen. I obviously wasn't there, but you could watch it 100 million times online if you wanted to. That to be there, that would have to be crazy, but that's the best performance I've ever seen a live frontman give to this day.
Okay.
Now,
I think if you want to relive that, go see the movie Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes, that's great.
on the big screen and on a giant screen and sit close to the front, and you will approximate being.
I do that. I could do that in my living room right now.
There you are. There you are.
I sit really close.
What was there something that really stood out in that? Was it the Live Aid thing? What was the thing that stood out the most to you in the Queen behind the music?
I mean, the Live Aid performance alone, when they were kind of not really even talking at that point, and they got back together, because if you obviously see the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, Freddie wasn't even aware that Live Aid was going on because nobody told us that. So I mean, when they got back together and they had a chance to rehearse for a few weeks, they were just dynamite again, man. And he pulled out all the stops, and being sick at that point, and knowing what he was going through and just putting it out there, he definitely delivered. And not just that, I mean, the way that his seemed to be like that cohesiveness between the members of the band, even though, like I said, like any band, they had their fights, but they seemed to pull it together when the time was needed, and
they stepped up.
Yeah, they all rallied around Freddie when he came in, and he didn't. Brian May said he didn't want to talk about his sickness, man. He wanted to talk about making music. And he would, he would prop. He even said in the behind the music, he's like, when they were going in to make an album after Live Aid, he would prop himself up, down a couple vodkas, and he's singing like nobody's business again. You know
Do
what
his
I mean?
thing.
So,
That's right. Lily, before we hit your last one here, can you maybe give a shout out to the folks that are hanging out with us on Facebook? LudiniRockandRollCircus.com is our website. You can catch us on Rock Rage Radio. Thank you so much, Rock Rage, for being there for us, as well as Classic 92.3. If you're listening on one of these replays, you can always party with us live on Facebook on Rock Rage Radio Live. And that's what Lily's about to do. She's going to give shout-outs to the folks that are hanging out with us live.
Okay, so I have Billy Altman, Chris Thunderwolf Dotson, Tracy Sampson, Snowdy Heem Skirk. Chris has said, hell yes, Keith, to Pantera. Diana Swens said Twisted Sisters episode is great.
Oh, yeah. That was cool.
Dean Carson, I don't know what DV means. I'm sorry. I must be silly or dumb. But we got Mary Wall, and I lost some because Facebook is dumb. So all of those who are watching, I'm sorry. If you are watching, I cannot see.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, sometimes we don't get all the stuff we need to get. So Lily, why don't you go ahead and give us one more of your favorite behind the musics?
I'm going to go ahead and throw out the Alice Cooper one, May 2nd, 1999. Again, remastered in 2010 was one of the ones. He actually sits there and talks about his struggles with alcoholism, which is, and I know I'm all about the tragedy, but sorry, that's how it is. The alcoholism and his sanity, and how depression overcame him when heavy metal music was sort of becoming passe in the 70s and 80s. And he talks about his final battle with alcohol in the rehab center in Arizona, which kept him sober since that visit, and it also spawned the concept album From the Inside, which we talked about on a previous show. It also goes on to show that he made his comeback with Trash in 1986, and that he's been going ever since. He does still tour today. In fact, he has a show in July here in Pittsburgh. The interviews are with the band, Shep Gordon, his original band, Shep Gordon,
Behind the music.
who was
I'm
his
gonna go
manager.
ahead and throw out the
Sorry,
Alex
Joe
because-
Smith
because
from
the
Warner
internet
Brothers.
screw up, sorry.
Slash, Rob Zombie, and Dee Snyder, who were
Born
influenced by
22nd,
Cooper, are
1999,
interviews
and
on the
remastered in 4K,
episode.
he has
So you're actually getting many points of views on the rocker from all angles of his life and everything. His wife talks, and she's pretty emotional about it because at one point she was going to leave him due to the alcoholism, even though she was sort of an alcoholic herself. But
Awesome
talk about-
pick. Those are all awesome picks.
PGA Tour is that good of a golfer. They don't talk about that, huh?
well, no, I don't think they mentioned that.
We need to wrap up here, guys, but I want to throw one out that I can't believe neither one of you guys mentioned.
What?
Well, look at the so cliche one.
But I want to just throw one out real quick because, and it's Iron Maiden. Because
I am shocked I didn't say that.
I
too.
loved Iron Maiden's Behind the Music. I just think from top to bottom, front to back, it's great. They are a great band. And I need to say something. I know Keith is going to kind of slap me for this because this is one of those things, being like a rock guy, I should know. But I did not know that Iron Maiden is basically Steve Harris's band. And he writes the songs. He comes up with all the stuff. It's his concept. He's the kind of musical director. And it just floored me. It just blew my freaking mind. And this was a band that I really liked. And then when I saw the Behind the Music, I was like, I'm not worthy! I'm not worthy! You are so awesome! I was just I became Iron Maiden, Joe Iron Maiden, like overnight. It's just like, it just took me to the next level.
That's my shit too. I can't believe I said it.
It's so good. And I encourage anybody who's on the fence about Iron Maiden, watch their Behind the Music, and I think it will take you to that place. And I want to mention one other little thing about Behind the Music. On the opposite, I saw a Behind the Music that for an artist that I liked, and when I saw his Behind the Music, I ended up getting really turned off. And that was Marvin Gaye. He was a dick. And he was a dick. Watch the Behind the Music.
Yeah, legit.
He was a dick. And
Just as
I
much
was
as
like,
his dad.
wow, and I love all your music, and now I'm like, I don't know if I like you as much. So I'm just
Yep. Never get shit like that, though.
what was that?
I don't get shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's great. That's your opinion, but at the same time, you never had to hang out with him. I don't hang out with these people. I wouldn't want to hang out with fucking anybody.
There was more to it than that, but there was something about it that just kind of like, it was like one thing after another that was just kind of unsavory, and I felt kind of smarmy about
felt
him.
dirty.
Yeah, after like watching it, like I mean, I don't not like him. I mean, he's an amazing musician, and just what's going on. I mean, just it's amazing stuff, but. He was just one of those things where I just kind of put like a little, smear on his name for me. But anyways, guys, so that's it. We're going to go party really freaking hard. So if you want to know how to do that, I've been talking about the Patreon, but if you guys want to come party with us, we're going over to LouLombardiRocks.com. Just click that. There's a button, and it'll take you right into our private Facebook group. We don't even need your email address or anything like that. So go to LouLombardiRocks.com. You can party with us in about 2 minutes. We're going to go around the room real quick. Lily, plug your shit before we go.
Hot Licks with Lily 6, Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can get it free app, Rock Rage Radio, or just go to rockrageradio.com. However, I'm not on this week. Tune in next week so you can win tickets to the Glenn Sobel Goon Squad show that's happening on the 18th.
Keith, any parting shots, any parting thoughts, anything you'd like to add before we boogie on out?
Well, like I said again, if you're in the New Orleans area, I will be at the Balcony Music Club on Decatur Street from 3 to 5:30 every Friday. And this Saturday, I'll be at the Gretna River Shack, which is in Gretna, Louisiana. So that's what's going on this week.
All right, awesome, guys. We want to just real quick throw a shout out to the bands. We had All Little Lies open up the show. It's Facebook.com/All Little Lies. We played Revolution Highway. You want to go to You want to go to GrooveyardRecords.com/Revolution Highway. We just rocked our asses off there with Heart Attack, and that is Facebook.com/Heart Attack Metal. Everyone's on Facebook tonight. And we're going to rock on out of here with Lou Lombardi Strange Love. You get LouLombardiMusic.com. Guys, the web address to party with us in a couple minutes from now is LouLombardiRocks.com. Please help us out on Patreon. If you have not hit the share button already, you've got another few seconds. Hit the share button. Some people shared it. We appreciate that. Please share it. If you are listening in one of the replays, if you're listening on Podbean or iTunes or Spotify, they all have that little V-shaped button to share. Whatever your favorite social media platform is, just share it. This helps us, but more importantly, it helps the bands like All Little Lies and Heart Attack and Revolutionary Highway and these different bands to get heard by people that aren't maybe going to ever hear these bands. So this is your way to your chance to do something to promote great guitar-driven rock. Guys, we love you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Our website's LoudiniRock'n'RollCircus.com, and we'll catch you guys all in the next Loudini Rock and Roll Circus.